Welcome all returning subs and hello to all the new. Let's get into the top 10 anime that incorporate astrology, and maybe once this list is finished you take a look at them, which I highly recommend. For starters, at number 10, we have Pokemon. There are both real and fake Pokemon astrology. In the Pokemon franchise's Unova region, it's been shown that there's a zodiac based on 12 Pokemon resembling the Western zodiac. Clink, a Pokemon resembling a pair of twin gears, relates to Gemini. That said, unlike the actual Greek zodiac, the signs are divided evenly by months instead of solar stays. One episode of the anime deals with an unrelated Pokemon horoscope that assigns signs like Ash being a Bellsprout type and Brock being an Onyx type. The end of the story revealed the whole thing was made up as part of a scam, but a genuine Pokemon horoscope was shown to exist. At number 9 we have Attack on Titan. Retroactively or not, when the birthdays of various characters in Attack on Titan were revealed in a guidebook, many of the characters' personalities actually match up quite well with the Western zodiac. Many action-oriented characters, like Iran, Jean, and Annie, are Aries. Passionate, driven characters like Reiner and Sasha are both Leos. Aloof, stoic Mikasa and Ymir are both Aquarius. Many of the Capricorn characters, like Levi, Bertel, and Kristen, showcase varying levels of social awkwardness, reflecting their signs' connection with small social groups. At number 8 we have Sailor Moon, which you'll be doing a solo video on, as well as other anime that use astrology in an amazing light. Sailor Moon. The show makes good use of both Eastern and Western zodiacs. In Sailor Moon, many of the Sailor Scout's powers are derived from the Chinese elements which are associated with planets in Chinese astrology. Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, and Venus are connected to water, fire, wood, and gold, respectively. And this is reflected throughout the girls' respective elements in their everyday lives, from Makoto taking care of plants to Rei's fire reading. Western astrology isn't forgotten about either, especially as the 12 signs are each associated with planets and heavenly bodies. Being a Cancer is such an important attribute to Usagi that her daughter was born under the same sign, too, reflecting its connection to the moon. Likewise, in the 90s anime, villain Nephrite often employed minions based on zodiac figures. At number 7 we have Saint Seiya. There's a reason the show's called Knights of the Zodiac outside of Japan. In Saint Seiya, a series focused heavily on Greco-Roman mythology, 5 friends serve an incarnation of the goddess Athena and derive powers from the constellations. Granted, the 5 main characters are connected to constellations that aren't necessarily representative of the zodiac, favoring figures and entities like Pegasus and the Phoenix. But Athena's greatest team of saints, the 12 gold saints, correspond to the 12 figures of the Western zodiac. At number 6 we have Juni Senshi Bakuretsu Edo Ranger. The animals of the Chinese zodiac fight corrupted fairy tales. The Edo Rangers are stylized after the 12 animals of the Chinese zodiac. The Rangers are led by the benevolent Princess Aura, who fight against the villainous Catwoman Nyama. Nyama represents the outcasted cat of the Chinese zodiac legend. In most episodes, they enter worlds based on classic fiction and fight forces changing the story, like Moby Dick becoming a giant mole or Cinderella taking place at a disco dance contest. Fittingly, in a world of corrupted stories, Nyama's story might also be more complicated than it first appears. At number 5 we have Itotama. The cat gets to be the star in this anime. In Itotama, Naitan, the incarnation of the cheetah cat, is still trying to take her place in the zodiac in spite of the years of rejection. She becomes closer and closer to her goal while freeloading off of high school student Takeru. Naturally, 12 girls corresponding to the 12 animals of the Eastern zodiac appear as well. Since the cat is the series heroine, the incarnation of the rat, Shutan, has something of an antagonistic role. I highly recommend this anime. At number 4 we have Fruits Basket. The Soma family curse revolves around the Chinese zodiac. In Fruits Basket, the Soma family is cursed to transform into the various animals of the Eastern zodiac when embraced by members of the opposite sex. Interestingly, one of the main characters, Kyle, represents the cheetah cat and is actually looked down on by members of the family because of it. Using a Japanese pun, the series manages to have a dragon in the family by having Hattori transform into a seahorse. With all these animals, of course, it also makes sense that the family would have a character relating to the god orchestrating the race, which is none other than the villainous Akito. At number 3 we have Star Twinkle Pretty Cure. The star princesses are based on the members of the zodiac. In Star Twinkle Pretty Cure, the 12 star princesses are each based on members of the Western zodiac, with a pair of twin sisters representing the Gemini sign. In the series, the Pretty Cures are tasked with saving the princesses after being trapped within star-colored pens. Despite the series favoring the Western zodiac over the Eastern one, it still managed to find a way of including the cheated 13th character. The villain Dark Nest is ultimately revealed to be the 13th princess, who is based on the Ophiuchus constellation. At number 2 for you Marvel fans, Iron Man. The anime bases the villains off of the Zodiac. In the Iron Man anime, an adaptation of the Marvel character, the Iron Man Dio armors get hijacked by an orc dubbed the Zodiac, and that's just the start of the series' foray into astrology. The monsters of the week in this series are patterned off the signs of the Western Zodiac, including Scorpio, Taurus, Sagittarius, Virgo, Aries, Cancer, Pisces, and Aquarius. Somewhat fittingly, Gemini serves as a sleeper agent, reflecting the twin nature of the sign. The best for last, of course. At number 1 we have Zodiac P.I. Detectives speak of fight crime with the power of the horoscope. In Zodiac P.I., Lily H isn't just a gifted fortune teller. She can use the power of astrological signs to solve crimes as detectives speak. The series uses magic as a vehicle for Lily to summon the signs for assistance. In practice, the spirits of the Western Zodiac grant a horoscope of a person involved in the case, which usually gives out a clue to what's really going on. Of course, this means Lily has to get the birth date of patrons and perpetrators alike. Like, comment, and subscribe, and also let me know what videos you all want next. Patron coming soon. Peace and love.